Hello men's, femmes, thems, and toasters, it is Ultimate here. If you've been around this channel a while, you may know that although I am a huge fan of the Wings of Fire series, I am also one of the top 10 haters of scavengers, which if you don't know is what they call humans in the books. When I was younger, I loved dragons, but every book that I read that had them revolved around the relationship to people and weren't about the dragons themselves. Plus, most of them only had 3 personalities: angry fire beast, friendly child's babysitter, or a pet. It was really frustrating because I loved the kind of dragons that thought like us, that have relationships and worries and wars, but they were always just used as a plot device for humans. I was tired of reading about annoying humans, and I just wanted to read about badass dragons. That's when I found Wings of Fire, and I loved it. Finally, there's a book series for me with just dragons by themselves being awesome. And then as the series went on, scavengers started being more and more important to the plot, and the hope I had of having one series without humans being the focus withered away and died. Okay, fine, that's a little dramatic, but given all of this, you may be able to understand why, when Dragonslayer was announced, a book that centered around the POVs of only humans, the only reaction I could conjure up was a giant eye roll. And after purchasing the book, because I will not be seen missing a single book from this goddamn series, my disappointment just grew, like a balloon of suckiness being inflated as I turned every page. That disappointment only increased when I read books 14 and 15, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to discuss the Book of Human Stupidity, and in case it wasn't clear, this video will contain spoilers for Wings of Fire Legends Dragonslayer. The biggest issues I had with the book originally were mainly related to plot, but also just the fact that the book existed at all. I guess it's nice to know what actually happened with Queen Oasis, but while reading Arc 1, I honestly didn't care. It didn't matter that humans killed her, or how, just that it started a war, and dragons are cool. And after reading a second time, about 2 years later, I think it's better than I gave it credit for at the time, but I still have some major issues with it. The first being that Ren is the only interesting character in this book. I know that it's hard to switch back and forth between characters, but it was done in Darkstalker Legends just fine, and that's literally one of my favorite books, partially because of how well balanced it was. In Dragonslayer, I was just waiting to get to Ren's POV because the other 2 protagonists were obviously just a means to an end. After a revisit, this got better, but I still felt the urge to skip those other parts because they were pretty boring, and it's not a good thing when readers are so bored by your character's plight that they don't feel like reading all of it. And again, I didn't feel that way in the other Legends book, because Fathom, Darkstalker, and Clearsight were all obviously intertwined in a way that both made sense and made me interested in reading all the way through since they all felt connected. That's just not what happened with Dragonslayer. Not only were the POVs not connected until much later, only Ren and maybe Ivy feel necessary for the plot, which alone feels less like a plot and more like a way to explain parts of the series instead of being its own standalone story. Just from a writing standpoint, I can understand the intention with this book, and it does explain a lot of plot points, but I'm just not sure it's something we needed so much as to make an entire book out of it. And I hate to bring up Darkstalker Legends again, but I don't think you could get rid of any of those 3 POVs and still have it be as cohesive as it is. All 3 dragons have distinct personalities, and the story as a whole makes sense standing on its own without having to keep looking back and forth to the main books. I can't say the same for Dragonslayer, since it doesn't feel like a story you can understand as well without having read the main series multiple times. And at 496 pages, which is to my knowledge the longest Wings of Fire book that exists, it seems like we could have gotten a lot more out of fixing or addressing plot holes that actually needed to be fixed. And that's not to say they will never be answered or that there will never be another Legends book, but I think it's disappointing that we got this first instead of the dragon-focused content we usually do. I know there have to be some people who really like the scavenger side of things, and I'm glad this book exists just for those people, and I hope they enjoy it. But as someone who just prefers to read about dragons, I'm just not really much of a fan. Besides the pointlessness of the book, I would like to take this time to make people mad and say that I don't like Sky. Yes, he is cute. Yes, his relationship with Ren is adorable. My issue with him is partly that I don't really like Dragonets. Every Dragonet in the series so far acts the same, and personally I think it got old ever since we met Cliff. I may just be biased because I don't really like kids in real life, but although the constant blabbering was cute in the first few books, I am no longer interested in it during Dragonslayer. I'm especially not interested in Sky because he's 8 years old, which in Dragon years is a young adult, and he still acts like a child. It doesn't seem like he matures at all during the course of the book. If he does, it's not noticeable besides the development of speech. And as we've seen, dragon growth in speech increases much more rapidly than humans, so this isn't much of a milestone. I understand that he went through what likely developed into trauma when he was very young and only had the companion of a 7-year-old, which are both things I'm assuming can stunt or at least hinder mental growth. However, as the book goes on, Sky has clearly explored much of the world with Ren at this point, so I would expect him to grow up at least a little bit. You've seen the entire world and probably seen how horrible other dragons can be, and you still act like a child? I don't know, maybe I'm just being cynical, but it feels unrealistic that he wouldn't get any wiser throughout his many years of exploration and discovery. I also don't want to seem like I'm confusing his intense optimism for childishness at all, because I think that's an important skill. But Ren has to go rescue him because he opened the cages of all the animals at the marketplace and gets captured by the weirdness collector known as Burn, and that's the sort of stupid idea that no longer becomes funny when you're a legal adult and should know better. I know that with all these complaints, I probably sound like a tired old fart who wants things to be like the good old days, and I get that. I think humans do have a place in Wings of Fire. I just wish that place was much smaller and in the timeout corner instead of integral to the plot. Ultimately, I am aware that the author is the one writing, and I respect every choice that has been made so far. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to change the books for my own benefit or like I'm not grateful to read the series, because it is something I've held very close to my heart for years now, and was the start of my entire YouTube channel. I'm just trying to explain my own thoughts on what I would personally change about a thing that I otherwise love a lot. I'm holding out hope that soon we will see more winglets, or some more Legends books that explain or expand upon things that we actually wanted to know about. Then I can breathe a sigh of relief that I only have to deal with humans in real life, and not in my favorite book series. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more of these discussion videos, let me know. I'm running out of ideas for summaries, but I've got plenty of things to whine about. Ultimate out.